"Here it is!" cried Mr. Wonka, standing at the end of the bed and holding high in one hand a little bottle. "The most valuable bottle of Hills in the world! And that, by the way, is why I haven't taken any myself. They are far too valuable to waste on me." He held the bottle out over the bed. The three old ones sat up and stretched their scrawny necks, trying to catch a glimpse of these pills inside. Charlie and Grandpa Joe also came forward to look. So did Mr. and Mrs. Bucket. The label said, "Wonka Vite. Each pill will make you younger by exactly 20 years. Caution: do not take more than the amount recommended by Mr. Wonka." They could all see the pills through the glass. They were brilliant yellow, shimmering and quivering inside the bottle. Vibrating is perhaps a better word, actually. They were vibrating so rapidly that each pill became a blur and you couldn't really see its shape. You could only see its color. You got the impression that there was something very small but incredibly powerful, something not quite of this world, locked up inside them and fighting to get out. "They're wriggling," said Grandma Georgina. "I don't like things that wriggle. How do we know they won't go on wriggling inside us after we swallow them? Like those Mexican jumping beans of Charlie's I swallowed a couple of years back. You remember that, don't you, Charlie?" "I told you not to eat them, Grandma." "They went on jumping about me for a month. I couldn't sit still. If I'm going to eat one of those pills, I jolly want to know what's in one of those first." "I don't blame you, really. But the recipe is extremely complicated. Wait a minute, I got it here somewhere." He started digging around in the pockets of his coattails. "I know it's here. I can't have lost it. I keep all my most valuable, important things in these pockets. Trouble is, there's such a lot of them." He started emptying out the pockets of them and placing on the bed. A homemade catapult, a yo-yo, a trick fried egg made of rubber, a slice of salami, a tooth with a filling in it, a stink bomb, a packet of itching powder. "Must be here, must be here, must be here," he kept muttering. I put it away so carefully. "Ah, here it is." He unfolded a crumpled piece of paper, smoothed it out, held it up, and began to read as follows. "Take a block of the finest chocolate weighing 1 ton. Place chocolate in very large cauldron and melt over red-hot furnace. When melted, lower the heat slightly so as not to burn the chocolate, but keep it boiling. Now, add the following in precisely the order given, stirring well all the same, and following each item to dissolve before adding the next. The hook of a manticore, the trunk and the suitcase of an elephant, the yolks of 3 eggs from a wiffle bird, a wart from a warthog, the horn of a cow, the front tail of a cockatrice, 6 ounces of sponge from a young slime scraper, 2 hares and 1 rabbit, from the head of a hippocampus, the beak of a red-breasted wilbatross, a corn from the toe of a unicorn, the 4 tentacles of a quadrupus, the hip and the paw and the paws of a hippopotamus, the snout of a froghopper, a mole from a mole, the hide and the seek of a spotted wagdoodle, the whites from 12 eggs from a tree squeak, the 3 feet of a snozwanker. If you can't get 3 feet, 1 yard will do. The square root of a South American abricus, the fangs of a viper. It must be a windscreen viper. The chest and the drawers of a wild growl. When all are thoroughly dissolved, boil for a further 27 days, but do not stir. At the end of this time, all liquid will have evaporated, and there will be left in the bottom a cauldron only a hard brown lump about the size of a football. Break this open with a hammer, and in the very center of it you will find a small round pill. This pill is Wonka Vite. When Mr. Wonka had finished reading the recipe, he carefully folded the paper and put it back into his pocket. An extremely complicated mixture. "So, can you wonder why it took me so long to get it just right?" "Now, sir," he said, offering the bottle, "will you take 1 pill or 2? "Will you solemnly swear," said Grandma George, "that it will do what you say, and nothing else?" Mr. Wonka said, "I swear it." Charlie edged forward. Grandpa Joe came with them. The two of them always stayed close together. Please excuse me for asking, but are you sure you really got it quite right? Whatever makes you ask a funny question like that? Oh, I was thinking about that gum that you gave to Violet Beauregard, said Charlie. So that's what's been bothering you, said Mr. Wonka. But don't you understand, I never gave that gum to Violet. She snatched it without my permission, and I shouted, "Stop, stop, stop, don't, spit it out." But the silly girl took no difference with me. Now Wonkavite is altogether different. I am offering these pills. I am ending them. And when they are taken according to my instructions, they are as safe as sugar candy. Of course they are, cried Mr. Bucket. What are you waiting for, all of you? An extraordinary change had come over him since he had entered the chocolate room. Listen, he cried, going to the edge of the bed. Mr. Wonka's offering you a new life. Grab it while you can. It's a delicious sensation, said Mr. Wonka, and it's very quick. You lose a year a second. Exactly 1 year falls away from you every second that goes by. He stepped forward. So here you are. Help yourselves. Come on. This was too much for the old people in the bed. All of them made a dive for the bottle. 6 scrawny hands shot out and started scrabbling to get a hold of it. All right, there's 12 pills exactly. That's 6 for me and 3 each for you. Hey, that's not fair, shrilled Grandma Josephine. It's 4 for each. 4 each is right, cried Grandpa George. Come on, Georgina, hand over my share. Mr. Wonka shrugged his shoulders and turned his back to them. He hated squabbles. Let them fight it out away, he thought, and he walked away. Money is the thing that most people fight. But these pills were bigger than money. They could do things to you that no amount of money could ever do. They were worth at least $1 million a pill, and he knew plenty of very rich men that would gladly pay that much in order to become 20 years younger. He reached the riverbank below the waterfall, and he stood there gazing at the great gush and splash of melted chocolate pouring down. He had hoped the noise of the waterfall would drown down the arguing voices. I got them first, Grandma Georgina was shouting. So they're mine to share out. Oh, no, they're not, shrilled Grandma Josephine. He didn't give them to you. He gave them to all 3 of us. I want my share, and no one's going to stop me. Come on, woman. Hand them over. Then the voice of Grandpa Joe, cutting sternly all over the rabble. Stop this at once, all of you. You're behaving like savages. You keep out of this, Joe, and mind your own business. Now you be careful, Josie. 4 it's too many for one person anyway. That's right, Charlie said. Please, Grandma, why don't you just take 1 or 2 each like Mr. Wonka said? And that'll leave some for Grandpa Joe and Mother and Father. Yes, yes, I'd love one, said Miss Bucket. Oh, wouldn't it be wonderful to last 20 years younger and not have aching feet anymore? Could you snare just 1 for each of us, Mother? I'm afraid not, said Grandma Georgina. These pills are specially reserved for us. I want my share, shouted Grandpa George. Come on, Georgina, dish them out. Hey, let go, you brute. You're hurting me. Ow, all right. I'll share them out if you stop twisting the arm. That's better. Here's 4 for Josephine, here's 4 for George, and 4 for me. Good. Now, who's got some water? Without looking around, Mr. Wonka knew that 3 Oompa Loompas would immediately be rushing towards them. Well, here goes, cried Grandpa George. Young and beautiful, that's what I'll be. I can't believe it, Grandpa Joe was yelling. They're getting younger and younger. They really are. Just look at Grandpa Joe's hair. And his teeth, cried Charlie. Hey, Grandpa, you're getting lovely white teeth all over them again. Mother, shouted Miss Bucket to Grandma Georgina. Oh, Mother, you're so beautiful. You're so young. And just look at Dad. Isn't he handsome? What's it feel like, Josie? Tell us what it feels like. Wait a minute. You look younger than 30 now. It can't be a day more than 20 now. But that's enough, isn't it? I should stop there if I were you. 20's quite young enough. Mr. Wonka shook his head sadly. Mother, cried Mrs. Bucket, you're going too far. You're way under 20. You can't be more than 15. You're 10. You're getting smaller. They're all going too far. They all took too much. Mother, can't you hear me, Mother? Can't you hear me? My heavens, isn't it quick? Mr. Bucket seemed to be the only one enjoying it. It really is a year a second. But they've hardly got any more years left. Mother's no more than 4 now. She's 3, 2, 1. Gracious me, what's happened to her? Where's she gone? Come here, Mr. Wonka. Something frightful has happened. Something's gone wrong. My dear old mother's disappeared. Mr. Wonka sighed, and quite calmly backed towards the bed. Where's my mother? Bawled Mrs. Bucket. Look at Josephine. Just look at her, I ask you. Mr. Wonka looked first at Grandma Josephine. She was sitting in the middle of the huge bed, bawling her head off. She's a screaming baby. I got a screaming baby for a wife. Oh, the other one's Grandpa George, Mr. Bucket said, smiling happily. The slightly bigger one crawling there around. He's my wife's father. That's right, he's my father. And where's Grandma Georgina, my old mother? She's vanished.